Hello everybody, it is Bryan, and over the next few minutes I want to talk to you about being an executor. Now, what is an executor? An executor is the individual responsible for administering the estate of a deceased person. Their primary responsibility is to distribute the assets of that individual according to their will to the intended beneficiaries. This position has a large responsibility and can be fraught with complexities and challenges. Okay, the definition makes sense, but what does it actually look like on paper? What are the steps? What do I need to go through if I've been named executor of a will? Well, let's go through them. So let's go through the 9 general steps that an executor needs to do. Number 1, they need to secure copies of the death certificate and will. Sounds pretty easy. Number 2, they need to notify all of the financial institutions of the death and open an estate account. So far, so good. They need to contact all of the life insurance companies and start the claims procedure. Also, cancel driver's licenses, provincial health cards, and even the digital presence like Facebook. They also need to apply for the CPP death benefits and any survivor benefits that they may get. The 6th step, things get a little bit more nuanced. You need to determine the location of all of the assets and liabilities, make sure you know what those market valuations are on the date of death, and start collecting information around those accounts. Second to last, you need to notify an accountant who probably has CRA authorization and start filing tax returns and pay those outstanding tax liabilities. And finally, once all that's done, you distribute to the assets to the intended beneficiaries. Again, seems like a very straightforward, sequential series of events, but it is not. It is complicated and time-consuming. When we think of things in terms of a list of to-dos, it can seem easy, straightforward. But what I've heard and from what I've seen of people's experiences as being an executor, it can be time-consuming, long, complex, and essentially frustrating. So rather than just tell you what the responsibilities are and the to-dos are, I actually went out and spoke with a half dozen clients who've recently gone through this experience. And I wanted to share with you the 5 insights or tips that they provided to me. The first thing is to really understand at the beginning that this is a large-scale project. It will take a lot of involvement, and it may go on for years, up to 3 years, 4 years to distribute an estate. At times we may want to take a break, but what they've told me, these 6 clients that have gone through this, is to keep maintaining accurate records, because it can be so difficult to go back in time and nail down exactly why you did make decisions. So keep on top of it. That's number 1. The second thing is to bring in and hire professionals like accountants and lawyers. They know the steps, they know the sequence, they know the pitfalls. And many of us don't do this because we feel like we're wasting money or spending money of the estate. And the will may not specifically say that we are allowed to hire these professionals, but you are. It is your decision as the executor on who you bring in to help you. So always bring in added help. The third insight is whether you've been named co-executor, perhaps with your sibling, perhaps with somebody else, but if all possible, to be named co-executors in an or fashion, meaning that either of you can make decisions. Either of you can sign off on documents, meaning only one of you needs to go to the bank to make decisions, meaning only one of you needs to call the investment professional to make decisions. It is a much more efficient, effective use of time. So if you can just double check, if you are named as executor on somebody's will, to make sure that you're an or if the circumstance warrants it. The fourth, it's not really a tip, it's more of an insight. And that's if there is a large asset, like a house or a cottage, that wants to stay in the family, there can be incredible complexity around that. So just imagine that you're one of 4 kids, there's a cottage that mom had, and one of those children wants to have it. It is tough. It is challenging to go through that. So just know that with eyes wide open, that it's not simply a matter of steps, selling things, doing taxes and distribution. Keeping properties in the family is tough. The 5th insight is perhaps the most important one, and that's to prepare yourself before the event, before the death. And what do I mean by this? It means knowing where the accounts are, knowing where the assets are. It means meeting the people who are responsible and taking care of the funds. It means being added perhaps as joint account owner onto a bank account. Knowing these things and setting up the infrastructure will make it so much more straightforward when the event actually occurs. It can be difficult. This can be for some difficult conversations beforehand, but it will be so much easier to execute their wishes. A key takeaway from those interviews was that few of them regretted taking on the responsibility of executor. Yes, it's challenging. Yes, it's time-consuming, but they felt a duty towards the individual, the deceased, that they wanted to honor. If you have any questions about this, please give me a call.